Over the past couple months, I've had a few savvy condo investors approach me and say, hey, Dimitri, we recognize that the condo market is down from where it was in the peak of 2022, and we want to take advantage. We feel that the market will eventually return back to where it was and even surpass those prices, and they wanted to buy in while the market is down and out. So I'm going to break down some of the deals that I sourced for them, how I found them, and even better yet, I'm going to go over the numbers and show you exactly what we found and what they ended up buying. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, my name is Demetres Giannitsos, local real estate agent here in Toronto. And if at any point you're watching this video, you want to get in touch with me, I've left a link down in the description below where you can book a call directly into my calendar. We can chat about your real estate plans, or if you got any questions about the market. Alternatively, if you're not ready to book a call yet, I've left a link down below to download my free app that I personally use for searching properties and give to all my clients. It is hands down the best tool I've used for finding properties online. It's got up-to-date MLS properties, it's got sold data, you can set up your own custom searches, and the algorithm's really smart where it'll actually pick up what you're looking for and send you curated properties. So if you want to take a look at what's available out there, I highly suggest you download the app down below. And if you're getting any value from these videos, make sure you subscribe to the channel. I'm trying to get this channel to over 10,000 subscribers by the end of the year, and drop a comment down below. Let me know if you think that right now is a good time to get a deal on a Toronto condo, or if you would wait to see if prices go down even further. So it's no secret out there that the market in Toronto has had a little bit of a correction since we've seen interest rates increase in early 2022. And specifically for the condo market in early 2022, the average sales price for a condo was about $830,000. And as it sits today, the average sales price is about $725,000. So that's about a 12.5% correction that we've seen. But the biggest thing is that we've seen demand drop off and an increase in inventory, which really changes the dynamics of the market. Because before, even if you were a distressed seller, you could put your condo on the market and you would get 10 plus offers and it would sell for top price. So it didn't really matter how motivated you were. But now that we see a little bit more of a balanced condo market, we are seeing some distressed sellers and they put their condo on the market, but because there's not so much demand, they're not having a huge lineup to buy all these condos. So if you can actually source out a distressed seller, you can actually get a really good deal on a condo and stretch that 12.5% discount to maybe 20 or 25%, which is exactly what this video is all about. Like I said earlier, I've had a couple condo investors approach me earlier this year and say, hey, Dimitri, we recognize that the condo market is down. We feel like it's a really good time to buy. We're not too picky on the area or a specific building. We just want to walk into the biggest discount or the best buy humanly possible. So I'm going to break down how I sourced these deals, what we bought. I'm going to break down the numbers for you and show you exactly what happened. Now, before I get into it, I think it's really important to understand their strategy moving forward. They do have a long-term strategy for these condos. They are not looking to flip them in the next year or two. They want to buy and hold for the next 10 to 15 years, okay? They understand that anything that they buy right now, especially with current interest rates, will be cash flow negative, but their play is on the appreciation of the condo itself. Everything that you buy in Toronto is based on appreciation. We're in an appreciation market, and if you don't understand that and you have questions on it, feel free to book a call. I'll probably be doing a whole separate video on that later on. But it is important to understand that they do have a long-term outlook on this strategy. So based on all this, I came up with a certain criteria for their search that this property needs to meet in order for it to make sense. And the first thing on that list is that it needs to be in a newer building, aka a non-rent controlled building, anything built after November 2018. This is super crucial for investors because this allows you to make sure that you are staying up to date with current market rents, and it makes your property a lot more liquid in the fact that you'll never be in a situation where you have a tenant who's paying much less than market rent and you can't get them out. This allows you to sell it to both investors and end users down the road with as little headache as possible. Not to mention that a newer building also provides a lot more longevity. We want to have that condo for its best years, which are typically years 0 to about 15 or 20. After that, the building gets a little bit older and the appreciation relative to market value may slow down. on top of finding a newer building, we're looking for A++ locations. Because the market is so gettable right now, we can really target those really good areas and not have to settle for secondary areas. So it's really important that we find an area that we feel like will give it the best chance to appreciate over time. And then finally, the last piece of criteria is that we are specifically looking for small 2-bedrooms or large 1-in dens where the den could potentially be used as a secondary bedroom. Okay, and we're going for these because whenever you're investing in a condo, you always want to go for the smallest property type. So for instance, if you're getting a 2-bedroom, you want to go for a small 2-bedroom. If you're going for a 1-bedroom, you want to go for a small 1-bedroom because you're buying it price per square foot, but you're renting it as a condo property type. So for instance, a small 1-bedroom versus a large 1-bedroom will rent relatively similarly, but if the big 1-bedroom is 100 square feet bigger and you're paying $1,000 per foot, you're going to pay $100,000 more for that condo. So we want to go after the smallest of whatever category that we are going after. Now, these specific investors chose 2-bedrooms because the 2-bedrooms come at a little bit of a higher price point, and with affordability being an issue right now, that really takes away a lot of the buyer pool. A lot of the small 1-bedroom condos are still selling quite well because people can still afford them. But once you get over a little bit higher of a price point, there's a little bit less buyers because most people aren't as liquid right now. Luckily, these investors are, and they want to take advantage of that. And in terms of price, they're open, but realistically, what we're looking for here is something that fits all that criteria for about $1,000 a square foot, which realistically, based on the average, is about 20% off of what we were seeing in the peak for something like that. In early 2022, you could expect to pay anywhere from $1,200 to $1,300 a square foot for something like that. We are looking for about $1,000 a square foot. Now, I know what you're thinking, that's a pretty stiff set of criteria. And how are you going to find these deals, in the midst of thousands of condos that are currently on MLS for sale? So I'm going to show you exactly how I source those for my client. Now we're going to go with the low-hanging fruit. And I wish there was a way that you as a consumer could see all this, but this is kind of like a little bit of a broker hack. You would need a real estate agent to do this for you. So, if you flip over to my screen here, you see the map of Toronto. And what I did to start is I actually have a field where I can go remarks by clients and remarks by brokers. Okay, so I've gone remarks by brokers. So this is actually a private section where the brokers have access to only, and I can search keywords. So you can see it says contains, and I can go motivated. Oops, there we go. And we're going to see a bunch of properties pop up here, okay? Now, all these people have had permission from the seller to write motivated in the broker remarks. And obviously not everybody who's motivated is going to write this, but hey, this is a good place to start. Just looking at this, I've got a list of 59 condos in the downtown core that have motivated seller in the broker description. So I can go through these and see, okay, I've got some new buildings in great areas. Of the 59, there's probably only going to be maybe 10 that are buildings that we're actually interested in. And then from there, I can really dive in and see if it's a deal that we would be interested in pursuing. Now, another important thing to note is that a lot of people will write motivated and they're really just not motivated. Their price doesn't reflect it. So now it's on me to pick up the phone and call and see what the situation is. But this is a really good way for me to start, and the way I found a couple of the deals. Now, another way that I can find some low-hanging fruit is I can go after the bank-owned properties or the foreclosures, and I can go into my system here and write seller name, and I can go starts with, we're going to go contains, and I'm going to put bank, and then I can also go or contains, let's say equity is another, a lot of their names will be like Equitable Bank or something, right? So equity. And then I can again go even more and go contains mortgage. Okay, perfect. So now I've got 17 bank-owned properties here. Now, keep in mind that a lot of the distressed sellers who are basically being forced to sell their properties through the banks, it may not have gone through the system. The bank might have told them that, hey, you're falling behind on payments, but, sell the property or catch up. So a lot of the, forced or distressed sales will never actually get to the banks, but these are ones where they have already gone to the banks. And I can search through this and see, hey, do we like any of these buildings? Are any of them in new enough buildings and good enough areas that we're interested in? And then we can go through the process. And this is how we actually got one of the condos. And once I exhausted all these options of the low-hanging fruit, at that point, that's when I start setting budgets. So I'll say, let's show me everything that's $700,000 and that is smaller than 700 square feet. So that is going to give me my $1,000 per square foot budget. Okay. Now this is a lot of work. You can see it says narrow criteria or zoom in because there's so many options, because with people holding back offers, a lot of people are listed below market value, which would show up on this search. So it's up to me to filter through all these and find the ones that are actually just priced really well, and then giving them a call, seeing if they're distressed, and then even taking it further down, which is again how we got a few of the condos. So basically, if you're looking for a deal, it's pretty rare that they just, kind of slap you in the face and you look at it on MLS and you're like, this is an amazing deal that I need to buy. You really got to hunt them down. You got to make a lot of phone calls. It's a broker. I got to talk to the seller's agents, find out what the scenario is. And if they're truly distressed, you can usually find out because the selling broker, the listing broker will be like, hey, bring me an offer. They need to sell the property. Their job is to get this sold for them before the bank takes it, or if the bank's already taken it, it kind of speaks for itself. So it is up to your broker to make a ton of calls if you want to find these deals. You're not going to just find them out in the open. But now I'm going to take you through 3 of the condos that they bought. They actually ended up buying a few more between these investors. But these ones are super interesting. I'm going to show you exactly what they paid for it, what they were selling for at the peak, so you can see how big a discount they got. And I'm even going to show you the photos so you can see exactly what the condo looked like and a little bit of the story behind all of them. So starting with the first one here, this is at 19 Western Battery, unit 2612. You can see the photos here. This was actually a bank-owned property, okay? So the bank had taken it, and it was in pretty rough shape. Now, the photos aren't bad, but you can even see the faucet here in the kitchen sink was ripped out. Yeah, you got a good look at it there. Behind this door, there was a giant hole in the wall. Somebody had punched and kicked in. It was honestly pretty dirty. The bathroom had this weird shower head thing going on because it looked like the original one had gotten ripped out. The caulking was done horribly. This property did not show well at all. I'm not sure exactly what happened with the person who, maybe, lost it to the bank. They trashed it on the way out. There was a little present and surprise for us in the toilet as well during the showing. So it was not very good. It was on the market. It did not show well. And my client was like, they were even skeptical, hey, I don't know. I told them, don't worry, we're going to throw a little bit of money at this once we buy it, and we're going to make this thing look like a brand new condo because condo's only a couple years old. So we did exactly that. We picked this one up. We negotiated it down from $700,000 down to $668,000. And again, we're looking for $1,000 a foot. That's without the parking spot. So we actually got this one less, considering it's 639 square feet. We picked it up for $668,000. The parking is worth about 50 grand in this building. So we picked it up for under $1,000 a foot. And if we look at the comparables, this is the one we picked up right here for $668. And just looking at the last recent sales at the peak in spring of 2022, you can see them right here. These units were selling for $775,000, $780,000, exact same layout, and these ones actually did not have a parking space. So realistically, these with a $50,000 adjustment are over $800,000, and we picked ours up for $668,000. And the best part is we turned it around really quickly and we got to rent it out to a great tenant for $3,200 per month. So moving on to the next one that we got. Now, this one was actually owned from the seller. So it wasn't a bank-owned property, but it was tenanted. Okay, so I saw, you can even see here, there's no pictures. This is the only pictures that were on MLS. I saw that it had been on the market for a while, and it actually took me a few attempts to get into this property because the tenants weren't allowing showings. Now, when I saw that the tenants weren't really allowing showings, I'm like, okay, green light, because I know that nobody can get into this property if I just go through the measures of calling the listing agent, working with the tenants to make sure that there's a time that works where I can go in and see the property, I know that I'm going to be one of the few people who actually got in here to actually see it. And as you can see here, it is a really nice layout. It is a 2-bedroom layout, a split 2 bedrooms. So you got the bedrooms on each side. They both have a proper window. It is not a junior 2-bedroom. This is a south-facing unit. If you know 576 Front Street, you know that if you're on the east or west sides, you have these kind of weird courtyard views where the south view is just an open view. So it's absolutely ideal. Like, we are making no compromises here when it comes to the unit itself. This is an A++ layout and a really good exposure. The only downside was that there was tenants in there that were making showings a little bit difficult. And when I did see the property, did it show really great? No, it didn't. It showed like there was tenants living in there. But with that being said, made a couple of calls, found out that the seller really needed to make a move here and that we were the only ones who had really gone into the condo and we would have to assume the tenants. The good thing is it's a newer building, there's no rent control, and they had actually just increased the rent on the tenants up to $3,500 a month. And we were able to negotiate this one down from $760,000 to $715,000. So again, looking at the comps here, this floor plan, I believe, is 700 square feet. So we picked it up for just over $1,000 per square foot. But at the peak, this building was selling $1,300 a square foot easy. And if we take a look at the sales, this is over the last 2 years. This was actually the cheapest 2-bedroom sale in the entire building. It tied a 3rd floor unit here that was back in 2020. But at the peak here, exact same unit, this 1504 sold for $880. And again, no parking for any of them. And we picked ours up for $715,000, which is walking into about $150,000 discount. And I will say that we assume those tenants, I've talked with them, I've been dealing with them, they're absolutely incredible. There is definitely a little bit of a risk when it comes to assuming tenants, but as long as you put in a condition saying that, you'll review their documents, we had an interview to make sure that this is someone that we would want to have in our property anyways, and everything went great. So as long as you do your due diligence, tenants aren't that bad. You just have to make sure that you put in the work to find out, if it's something that you want to be a part of. Now, this condo that I'm going to show you is probably the sexiest out of the ones that I'm going to share with you today. So this one is at XO Condos. This is at King and Dufferin, brand new building at Lifetime Developments. And I will say, when I first came across this listing, I thought it was an assignment sale. Okay, this building is so brand new that all the previous listings in this building were all on assignment. Basically, the building hadn't closed yet. Now, the building just closed. These people who sold it to us, they had closed on it, and it was not an assignment at this point. Okay, so it has been closed. They paid the closing costs. They paid all the stuff that they had to pay for the new building. And now it was being sold as a resale condo, which is obviously super attractive for us. But that being said, when I see that, I know that there is something going on there where they need to sell, because if they sell within that first year, they have to pay, HST. Most investors will keep it for a year and then sell it down the road to avoid those HST costs. So if they're selling it now, I know that they need to get rid of it. So I made a quick call. We went and checked out the unit, and it's gorgeous. Like, honestly, very gorgeous. Like I said, no settling. This is a south-facing unit. It's a corner unit. Okay, I'll even throw in, I think I got some videos that I'm going to throw in as a layover. Southwest facing lake views. When you go out on the balcony, you actually have a view of downtown and the CN Tower. The layout is incredible. No wasted space. Like, it is absolutely ideal. 2-bedroom, 2-bathroom. It's in a small compressed layout, 688 square feet, which is exactly what we were looking for. But it's in a usable layout too. So 688 square feet, when it's actually, laid out correctly, feels a lot bigger. So I was like, hey, let's make a move. Let's see if we can negotiate this one further. And that's exactly what we did. We picked this one up for $660,000, which is under $1,000 a square foot for a brand new, never lived in building. And they've already paid all the closing costs to the developers. This is a true resale, not an assignment. They were listed at $689,000, which was already aggressively priced. And we were able to knock off even more off of that. And just to give you an idea, these units were last listed for $781,000. And I know that these guys picked it up somewhere in the mid sevens, and then with their closing costs, they would have been much more. So, unfortunately for the original buyers of this one, they did take a hit on this. But again, We're coming from an approach of like, hey, your property's on the market, you have it up for sale. Everybody has to agree to the terms of the deal. If we can be the ones to, help you get out of the deal, we'll pick it up. And this was one that my clients could not say no to. And again, we rented that property out. The tenants are actually moving in at the end of the month. The blinds are going in. Like, we're super excited about that one. And it's a gorgeous condo. The tenants are going to love it. But just looking at those three deals, looking at what those condos were worth at the peak of the market versus what we paid for them today, those clients walked into about $500,000 of equity, or a discount, if you will, relative to what they were at the peak. So assuming that condo prices in the coming years will return to that level, they're walking into about $500,000 of equity just on those three deals alone. Now, obviously, nobody has a crystal ball and can't predict the future. So, for them, like I said, they have a long-term strategy. They're not looking to exit these properties in the next year or two, or, as soon as it hits that peak, they're going to sell and liquidate. They plan on keeping them for 10 to 15 years. So really, their profit margins will likely look a lot bigger over the long run, but there's definitely opportunities out there. And like I said, with more of a balanced market, it gives you the opportunity to actually find distressed sellers, because before, when the market was super tight, those distressed sellers just put the condo on the market with an offer day. They have 10 people waiting to buy it, and the seller's motivation is completely irrelevant because the buyer demand is so strong. Where right now, because it's a little bit more balanced, you can actually seek out these deals. Now, finding the deals is a little bit more difficult. We are very particular, like I said, on the building, the age, the location, the floor plan. And then once we find those, then we got to see if the seller is motivated and is willing to let it go for a little bit less than they probably want to. But again, that comes up to your agent to make a lot of phone calls to find out who is, motivated and distressed and where there's actually a deal to be made. So I hope that video helps you see, some of the opportunities that are out there in the Toronto condo market. If anybody wants to get in touch with me, as I said earlier, I've left my contact information down below where you can book a call directly into my calendar or reach out. And like I said, there's an app download down below that you can also access all the properties currently available online. As always, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll see you on the next video.